Good morning and welcome to SIGCSE Morning Coffee, the show about everything going on at the 2021 SIGCSE Technical Symposium. From Charlottesville, Virginia, I'm Mark Sheriff.
And I'm Larry Merkel in Dayton, Ohio.
And I'm tired. It's only, it's Tuesday, and we've already had two fantastic, 1.5 days or a week. I don't know how to count it anymore. It's pandemic time anyway. How do you count things? But we've already had so much content. Have you been into anything, Larry, that's really struck you so far?
Well, so really three keynotes. Only two of them are labeled as keynotes, but that opening celebration was phenomenal. And then we had two keynotes on Monday. That was really great to see those.
Just back to back to back. It was, what a way to start things off. Of course, nothing against the technical sessions. The first technical session that happened last night at 8 o'clock, which was wonderful, which was great, awesome. And now we are moving into day two. I guess let's call it day two, because Sunday could be day zero. We're computer scientists. Let's count from zero anyway. So Larry got the schedule up here on the screen. Let's do a quick rundown for everyone. Well, you're here for morning coffee. Thanks for joining us, as always. We've got the first set of technical sessions at 1 o'clock today. Make sure to check out that there is the best paper in the Experience Reports and Tools Path track during in the accessibility session. And also demos get started today. That's really cool. Larry, is there anything at the 1 o'clock session time slot that you're really excited about?
I am really looking forward to the panel with Kristen Stevens-Martinez. It's Where Should We Go From Here? Eliminating Inequities in CS Education, featuring guests from the CS Ed podcast. And of course, that we talked about that when we interviewed Kristen.
That's true. She came on, which was Monday's episode, and it was so great to talk to her. You and Alvaro had a great interview with her, and so yeah, come and see her panel and see how the pros do it, and also talk about a super important topic that thankfully we are trying to highlight here this year. We've got supporter sessions, as always, starting at 3 o'clock. Note that the supporter sessions, there's always going to be a platinum supporter at the 3 o'clock time slot and around the 6:45, 7 o'clock time slot, Monday through Friday. So when you're looking for sessions from Microsoft or Google or GitHub, those are the time slots you should be looking at. Of course, not taking away anything from our gold, silver, and bronze supporters who will be at the 4 o'clock and the 4:15 and the 5:30 slots. Today we have GitHub, NSF, CodeGrade, and Google during those time slots. So make sure you are checking out those supporter sessions whenever you get an opportunity.
Not to mention just the exhibitor booths.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting how it's set up inside Pathable. We have the supporters section, and we also have the exhibitors section. So remember, those are two different things. We have the people who are supporters are often also exhibitors, but we have a whole slew of exhibitors who come in to share some particular things that they, just like we had at the show floor when we were in person, right? You're walking around the floor, go past a ton of booths. Not all of them are necessarily supporters, but without their support, we still couldn't be here. So make sure you are taking a look at those exhibitor booths as well.
Yeah, just for example, you might happen to come by the SIGCSE 2022 booth and get to talk to one of the SIGCSE 2022 co-chairs and hear all about Providence, Rhode Island, and maybe see the candidate logos and vote on which one you want. So.
Oh, that is super, super important. Yes, the logo voting competition has been a thing every year, even though you might think we didn't have a logo vote for 2021. We did have a logo vote in Portland. We also posted it on the mailing list, and then we were canceled. And so when that happened, the Canadian maple leaf logo seemed to not work. So that's how we ended up with our lovely 2021 logo of the laptop with the microphone. But I actually haven't had a chance to look at the logos yet. I really need to go do that. Because I know that there is one very important aspect of a good conference logo, and that is, how does it look on the polo?
I don't know who would care about something like that.
Who would care about such a thing? Oh my goodness, the crab logo. We love the crab logo from Baltimore. 4:00 today, the second poster session. Make sure you're checking out all the wonderful posters that have been submitted. And the second day of BOFs. Flock 1 is at 4, Flock 2, or Flock B, excuse me, is at 5:30. And then another set of technical sessions at 8:00 p.m. tonight with the second best paper in curriculum initiatives in the student experiences session. So once again, a packed day. We're going to have packed days the entire week, but tons of great stuff to go see today. We want to make sure that you are going into Pathable and setting up your agenda so that you get those notifications to know when the next thing is showing up. And remember, if you show up early to a session, you need to refresh the page before you can go in when it is time. Just bear that in mind, because, we all have to learn the little ins and outs of every bit of software that we're using. So that's one of the ones that you need to remember here.
Well, one other thing for people to remember, people probably are getting the hang of this now, but most of the sessions have pre-recorded presentations that people don't have to wait for the session to start to watch.
Larry, we have started doing trivia questions on SIGCSE Morning Coffee, with the hope of the people who, if you have a guess at the answer, you can tweet at us at SIGCSE_TS, hashtag SIGCSE Morning Coffee. Maybe we'll get some of these mugs into folks' hands after the symposium. I'm not that fast at getting things mailed off. We haven't had many guesses yet, so the field is wide open. But I have the next trivia question, Larry, if you're ready. The problem is Larry knows the answer to this one. I know he knows the answer to this one.
All right, mum's the word.
But it's going to change by the end of the week, because the trivia question this time is, what is and how, as close as you can get, the final registration number for SIGCSE 2021. And I know that you, as master of the registration system for many, many years, know the back door into Cvent to see that number whenever you want. So you are ineligible, sir, from winning.
Well, I do already have my coffee mug. So
you do already have your coffee mug. Well, if you haven't tried to answer the previous trivia questions, they were: what city has hosted the most SIGCSE technical symposiums and how many times? And how many cities have hosted the technical symposium more than once? And what is their name? So obviously, the answer to one appears in the answer to two.
Yes.
There's a logic puzzle there for some of your classes. But anyway, Larry, we, as always, can't thank our supporters enough. Please make sure you are visiting all of their booths, the exhibitors, and you can see them as we go to commercial. When we come back, we will have an interview with Dan Garcia. Know you're going to want to hang around for that, because we cover a lot, because it's Dan, and so we go fast. Stay tuned.
All right.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us now from Berkeley, California is Dan Garcia, teaching professor at the University of California, Berkeley, and vice chair of the SIGCSE board. Dan, welcome to SIGCSE Morning Coffee. How are you today?
Hi, great to see you. Great to see members of SIGCSE. Woo!
Hooray! We're all here. We're all wearing our SIGCSE polo shirts. Yay!
Love it. Represent.
Sure.
Represent. CS for all. That's great. Great to see you all.
Oh,
Thank you
man.
for inviting me.
Dan, I had to invite you when we had the teaching track Birds of a Feather going on behind me, because in case you don't remember, the first time that we met at like a Google Summit, I believe. And I came to you and pitched the idea of this teaching track Birds of a Feather, and you were kind of very gracious and said, yeah, that's a good idea. We've been doing it for 3 years.
And in fact, I did some. That was true. I did some data analysis. At some point, we were twice as big. One year, I think it was Baltimore, twice as big as the next biggest Birds of a Feather.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we kind of needed. We've always, for the last couple of years, we've always needed the largest room. Now we needed the biggest Zoom room. I think is what we. If only we had a technology that could scale to. No.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we need to give any more introduction to you, because of the folks that come to the SIGCSE Technical Symposium, you are one of the folks that has your own track practically between all of your work with Beauty and Joy Computing and poster sessions, Birds of a Feather, being symposium chair in 2018 and program chair in 2017. You have been a mainstay of the community for so long, and you are a SIGCSE treasure, and now a member of the SIGCSE board.
Well, it's an honor. It really is an honor. It's been great to have all those. I mean, I as I say, I couldn't do it with all of my friends, all of my fellow panelists. Many times what I'm doing is running special sessions and panels and workshops and Birds of Feathers. And each one of these are colleagues across the country and across the world that are joining me for some of those performances and some of those talks. So it's been great. It's been a great run, and I love SIGCSE. It's my highlight of my year as it is for many of us, and I'm so honored to be able to represent SIGCSE as part of the SIGCSE board. It's been great. It's been great to see that side of things, right? You don't see what it's like behind the wall, how it actually works, how the machinery works. Wow, it's really eye-opening to see how well it works. This is really remarkable what a great team we have and how well the whole thing works in terms of that. It's been certainly a challenge. I don't think any SIGCSE board has had the challenge that we've had in the last year and a half. Many members realize that. I mean, I want to honor you huge folks, because you have been on the ground on Portland trying to make that work, and that was really a challenge, and trying to pull off 2 conferences. So I wanted to, first of all, we're not worthy, because you guys have done such amazing work in terms of balancing the needs to shift online, and so that's it. But thinking about how we support, from the point of view of the board, how we support all the symposium chairs and all the chairs of the 4 conferences, trying to balance, well, now we were going to Hyderabad, India. Well, now we're going to push that out a year. Like, how do we all balance thinking about safety and thinking about trying to keep our community rolling? And I also want to give honor to all the folks who are thinking of creative online techniques. And boy, let's try this, and let's try Discord, and this. And what if we put our elbow like this when we, it's a very complicated thing to manage. I don't know where that came from, but everyone's being very creative in their space, in their search for trying to continue these conferences and continue the community. So it's been a challenge. So I want to not just say the board has done, I think, a very good job in terms of connecting with that and trying to support the community and keep it going. But also I do want to honor all the chairs of all the conferences and just how they've managed. It's been amazing.
But you're such an influential voice in CS education. I can see right now that we're gonna have a lot of elbow up people for at least. I don't know where that came. We'll have some papers in the research track next year. There
was a doctor. Hers trying to go like this. Well, don't go like this. What are you doing?
So I'm curious. Delightful. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the discussions have been like? Whatever you can share on the SIGCSE board regarding conferences, and particularly online hybrid.
Oh, sure.
What's going to be the future of our conferences?
Wow,
going forward?
If I knew, I would have bought GameStop, I think. The reality is we've got to not make a decision for the community. The reality is we have to survey the community and find out what do they want? What would they do? There's so many different elements. It's really nuanced. It's almost like we need to have a weekend, open forum for everybody to be able to share. What we're going to do is have a survey, a really detailed survey. I'm helping the board, in crafting the survey that the community will see. So please do note the survey coming when you see it, and please do fill it in. There's a lot of options. One model, one mental state is we need to get back face to face as fast as possible, and I can see many people in the community are feeling that way. We've built up our 4 conferences in our community because of all of our face to face connections, and then keeping those going through online, the mailing list and other ways that people have done that online. But really, it's the rubbing elbows, it's the having meals together, it's Mark coming up to me and say, Dan, let's do this. Okay, let's do this next year. Like all those really rich conversations we've had face to face. It's hard to happen. And also the just informal social gatherings where you're sitting around a circle of people that and then another grad student walks in, you say, hey, let me introduce you to this awesome, that doesn't happen online as easily. So how do you facilitate all of that community building that just naturally, organically happens, with these conversations that happen face to face and over meals and, at the bar and all those things. Drinking water. So the catch is, how do we continue doing that? So one model is rush to face-to-face. It's like, right, let's rush to reopen every state, rush to face-to-face as fast as we can. Now, people need to know that many of these contracts are years out. Right. So we're making a decision for 4 years out, because that's how, when the symposium moves somewhere, you have to make the arrangements 4 years out. So we're trying to, we hear that enough of the community wants to run face-to-face. We're continuing to have those conversations, continue to sign those contracts. Now, if the survey comes back and says nobody wants to meet face-to-face anymore, we think the virtual thing, well, we need to now think about what would that mean for promises we've made for conferences next year and next year and next year. We just hope that things will. I think everybody wants, all people to get vaccinated, the viruses to not mutate anymore, and everyone just can be able to go back to normal. But that's not going to be possible. In fact, some people are really benefiting, as much as many people are struggling. A lot of people are struggling in their homes, but many people were struggling in the old model with how to attend conferences internationally, with the cost, with the this. Maybe my institution, high school, college, whatever, doesn't give me money unless I have a paper, so I can't just go to listen because I have to write a paper. If I don't get in, I'm not going, right? That's a concern. And even if I do go, do I have enough money? Is my department chair, do I have enough grants to be able to support that? Can I bring my students? Probably not, if they're not on the paper and I don't have. So maybe we didn't realize, it's almost like we had blinders on to how difficult it is for our international colleagues to participate in most of our conferences. And for me to get to IDICE, which is in Europe, I mean, it goes both ways, right? For US folks to get out and for other folks to get into conferences that are in the US. So this online world flattens the world. It's like the world is flat now. The whole world is flat model means that the cost comes down significantly for registration. The cost is zero for travel. The cost is zero for housing. The cost is basically zero for food. So you're looking at an unbelievable democratization of ability to attend these conferences in a very powerful way. And I think the way that we've never had before. So, we have colleagues telling us, I could go to one international conference before, now I can go to 10. Boy, we got a list. And by the way, when I go to each of those 10, I'm an equal participant. It's not like, well, I'm a remote participant and all the wonderful networking is happening face to face and I get to only listen and maybe I can't even ask a question. I mean, who knows how to make hybrid work really well? We haven't done that yet. So let's try out a couple of those and see what learns and how to not have the people who are online have a second class experience than the people who are face to face. How can you have? So it involves a lot of thought. It might involve a much larger growth of an organizing committee to manage all of those details. Not just I can't just expect Mark and you and the team to manage, Larry to manage everything, right? So you got to have a larger team, but also. So I think you've got face-to-face versus face-to-face conversations. That online people aren't part of that. You want to have online to online conversations, right? Because you want to basically have everybody and everybody should be able to meet. Okay, so that means face-to-face and face-to-face have to have time to meet. That kind of happens naturally if they've gone to the conference. They'll meet over the water cooler. Online to online, how does that happen? So that means the virtual people, the face-to-face people can't be part of that because this is an online to online connection. But then you have to have online to face-to-face. So basically it's always pairs for any person, whichever way they choose to get to the conference has to be able to meet any other person. However, so that's 3 possible ways. So you have to make explicit time for kind of organic, maybe non-organic, maybe forced, maybe speed dating. There's lots of options for online to meet online and online to meet face-to-face. The hard part is, how many people going to a face-to-face conference want to stop meeting their face-to-face colleagues and go back to their computer to meet other people there? Like, it's just so rich that the thousand sensories of your brain and your this and your handshakes and the hugs and are so being primed when you're face-to-face. Now I got to shut that all off to be a little box to my little window of my screen and my computer is out of battery, to then connect with people online because we miss you too, right? There are people there who want to talk to you too and get to know you too. So you have to have all 3 of those ways really top-notch. In addition to, how do you record every single talk? That's been a cost issue in the past. We couldn't even record every single keynote, for goodness sake. Go back in the archives. How many keynotes do we have recorded? So few because AV costs are high. Just for the keynote, just for a big, camera guy with the zzz when the handles and this, right, moving in and dollying in.
What was that technical
just
term
the keynotes.
Again? What was the technical term for that again?
That zzz with the zzz and moving. So how do you, if you couldn't even record the keynotes, this, by the way, when you had people paying top dollar, a nice premium, which allowed the SIGCSE budget to grow, right? We made our money in the big conferences that are able to maybe support smaller conferences that maybe lost money or maybe broke even. So you got to make money on the big one to be able to support this. That's usually what happens. SIGGRAPH has the big conference and they pay for small initiatives. So SIGCSE board has many initiatives where, we'd like to give, scholarships, people to attend the conference. You got to make the money here to be able to pay for the scholarship. So all those things, but now all of a sudden, so now imagine if we couldn't back in the day when we were all flush with cash, not really, but flush with cash in terms of just a high registration rate and a lot of people coming, like in Baltimore. Oh, like in Baltimore, we had a huge number, right? It was wonderful. And we brought in a good money for the board and a good money for the SIGCSE program to allow to run many, many things. So if we couldn't pay for all the AV to record the keynotes in the past, with all the money we had, now you're telling me, okay, it's going to be a conference with fewer people paying top dollar to come face-to-face, more online. How are you going to be able to support all the costs for recording keynotes, being able to support Q&A, not just recording, but not just record it and put it in the back room and now master it, but simulcasting, okay? And then allow for Q&A that support both ways, right? Maybe, how about this? How about a presenter who's remote? How does that work? How do you show that up? How can they, with the AV checks and this? So my point is, however, should we or could we allow for presenters not to come anymore? Could they present remotely? So the people who are hybrid, if you are fully embracing the hybrid model, then I should be able to, again, I'm an international person, don't have a lot of budget, I should be able to present without attending and get the first class experience in all ways, in both receiving information and giving information. Boy, what a conversation that is. So we've got to think about, if we couldn't afford the keynotes, how do we afford a video stream with a high internet, not without Wi-Fi? Who remembers a couple of conferences back? Where's my, can people stop doing Wi-Fi? Can everybody around not? Do you remember? Can we stop doing Wi-Fi? Because, okay, we're going to, people have last letter starts with A to B, then you could do Wi-Fi for the first 10, no. I mean, you've got to have a wired connection. It's crazy. So
now that we're home, it's all right. Who's on Netflix? I want to zoom in.
Yeah. Stop talking. And who's yelling to their friends behind me about Minecraft while I'm trying to talk to my. Okay, that's. I mean, a lot of people have smaller houses, right, or smaller apartments.
Yeah.
You got your whole family's talking, and you got okay, or maybe there's construction next door. My point is, how do you make it work? If we couldn't make it work back in the day, how do we make hybrid conferences work really well for every participant at a first class model? It's hard. It's just hard. So we're going to we'll look into it, look at the budgets first, and look into maybe everybody, just uses, a Zoom from the laptop that's displaying, and you don't have to kind of pay a camera person. Maybe, the keynote person is just doing that. But then how do you do the picture in picture with the face? Because you don't just see the slides, you want to see the face. And so it's complicated. All these things are complicated. Please do fill in the survey. My point of this is fill in the survey. Once the survey gets out, please hit that one, and remember to like and subscribe.
Well, I know the 2022 team definitely is starting to think about these issues already for Providence. What is that going to look like, and how's that going to work? And that is a large task. But this is not the only conversation you have on the board. You are also in charge of awards, and we have some award winners that we are going to be recognizing this week. Actually, several award winners.
I am, and I'm so delighted to be. It's like I do awards. I also Berkeley for TA awards, and it's like the best job ever because you get to look at these amazing cases. Like, oh, they're so wonderful. And the hardest thing is, how do you not give it to everybody, right? That's always the hardest thing to do. So I want to make sure and give a pitch for everybody to attend the two wonderful talks that are happening. First timers get to hear Carrie Laxer, who's a recipient of one of our awards for outstanding service to the computer science education community. And Stephen Edwards is for an outstanding contribution to computer science education. So please do attend both of their talks. I believe it's Monday and Wednesday, if I'm right.
Correct.
So please do attend
Wednesday.
those talks. And while I'm there, let me do a plug also for our third award winner, Tracy Camp, for the work of the pipeline, her pipeline paper, which was in 1997 in CACM, outstanding, talking about females trying to get into computer science and understanding all the elements of that, really the shrinking pipeline. So let me do, we're going to honor her as well, so please do attend the talks. We're going to have her kind of doubly honored there. The nice thing about it is the Test of Time Award gets to choose what venue you get awarded in, and there are 4 SIGCSE. You should all know there are 4 SIGCSE conferences. People think it was just one, because no, there's 4 SIGCSE conferences. Even though the big one is often called SIGCSE, it's the Technical Symposium. So she chose the Technical Symposium. So actually, all 3 awardees are going to be here at this conference. So I'm excited about celebrating them during that.
So Dan, how does the selection happen? I mean, what's the process? How do people get involved?
Right, wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to share this. This is important. People are typically nominated by other folks, so I want you to be thinking about who among our community deserves to receive these honors. The first honor, as I mentioned, is the outstanding contribution to computer science education. So how do we look around, everybody look around and find people, shake the trees and ask each other, who should win the award this year, and make sure to nominate them. We start from the set of nominations. So if we don't get that, we have a much smaller pool. I want to have a much larger pool. So think about who has made a contribution to computer science education. Who also has in terms of service, this is kind of the contribution award, there's a service award, who has had just remarkable service to the computer as education community. So think about folks who are both significantly contribute to computer science education and who has contributed to the community as well. Think about that. And third, and certainly last but not least, think about a piece of work. Often you say, that person's a piece of work. I don't want you to think about a person. This is really important. I want the community to think about what piece of work has influenced you. You really have to think about how, there's the arrows. You have to point to, what publication, it's really about the publication, right? What publication has significantly contributed to who you are, to your scholarship, to your research, to what you do? It might be a publication that is informing what you do, not about the next piece of research you're going to do, but actually what you do daily. Maybe this is about how to do something in a different way. Tiffany and I and others, Michael and Stephen actually, started thinking about how to divide the SIGCSE papers into 3 categories rather than just have one rubric for everything. We're very proud of that work, in which there's the standard computer science education research, and that's kind of the ICER papers. Then there's best practice work. This is work about tools. This is work about experience reports. That's what we call it, experience reports, to kind of track. And then there is the new programs track, new curriculum, new degrees. Okay, so there are kind of 3 tracks. So kind of thinking more at a global scale. It isn't just, well, what CS research paper has influenced you, but what maybe experience report has influenced you, or what program or degree influenced you in terms of something new. You're going to go back 10 years and start from that point. So it has to be 10 years and past is the Test of Time award, test of time, right? So it stood a decade. So go back and look at the piece of work. And only after you find the piece of work, then as a very sub-bullet, find out who wrote it. But it's not about, I like, the moment I said this, I said, who influenced you? You pointed at people. Don't think about people, think about a piece of work. Think about a publication that, and by the way, it's any SIGCSE publication, including communications at ACM. So it's things that are kind of flowing in the computer science education space. What piece of work has influenced you? Think about that. Maybe there's 5 of them. Just shuffle it out. Okay, who are you going to write a letter? Who are you going to get some supporting? And by the way, the lift is very low. The lift is very low. It is, here's the work and here's a nomination letter signed by people. So it's not like I got to do some things. The signatories don't have to write another letter. They just have to sign the bottom. So it's one submission, and maybe people can collaboratively author that, and then you have signatories at the bottom. And they don't even have to attach the signatures. You can just have their name because we trust you. So this, I don't have to well, how do I get the PDF of the PNG? Do I write it? No, just put their name. If I believe it, you're going to say yes, and I write the name on the bottom. So it's really very easy lift. But think about a piece of work, folks, that has influenced you, and make sure to submit for the Test of Time Award.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dan.
Sure.
To this day, I still don't know when you breathe. It is impressive, and I love it. And it just warms my heart.
My favorite student evaluation line was, what does this guy eat for breakfast? Because I want some of it. That's of 20 years, and that's my favorite line. What does he eat for breakfast? I just love it.
Well, Dan, it is always wonderful to talk to you. I wish I could get a nice big hug, but that we'll have to hold off on that until we figure out what the in-person versus virtual end up being. Do you have any parting words for the community? Any last things you want people to make sure they think about?
Sure. Well, part 1, welcome to SIGCSE. Just so happy that you're here and part of our community. Try to make use of as many of the social elements of this online world to continue that networking as much as you can. Try to bring more students in next year. Think about if you could bring, I mean, I just brought 10 students in. I never brought 10. I could never afford to bring 10. I just brought 10 students in. So as we're going forward on the board, we're going to try to keep the cost down for remote participation so we can kind of continue to have that ability. So continue to grow, continue to think about how we can move forward, continue to think about equity. I think, make sure I say this, CS for All is all grounded in equity. So continue to think about ways that our technology, our curriculum, our program, even what we do every minute in class allows for a space for all to succeed. So really, it's about computer science for all is at the end of the day, and think about ways that we are not having it be computer science for all. So continue to push the needle as much as we can in terms of broadening participation in computing, I would say. And with that.
Wonderful.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you so much, folks. Thank you for the invite. This was great. This is a lot of fun.
Well,
oh, I didn't have I wasn't recording. Darn it. No.
That's okay.
Take two. Can we have another? Can we have another take?
I think we have multiple copies. Alvaro, you recorded this, right? You're good?
I didn't hit anything. I didn't press any record button. No.
It said recording
Aren't you
on the top.
producer? You're the producer.
It says recording on the top. It says recording on the top. So it's fine.
It's okay.
My little button record often, if I'm recording, it says record pause, but that's not record pause, so I'm not recording it. But the top left says recording, so I think.
But over here in OBS for the people at home, the magic that this is happening is we are piping Zoom through OBS, and that is how we have gotten it. So
beautiful.
Once again,
and also thanks to you. I should have said thanks to all the hard work you have done. I really didn't. I should have said that. Can we go back? I also want to thank the two of you and all the folks who have made this work. You folks have probably been the hardest working symposium leads in recent memory. Certainly, if I add last year on top of it. So we're not worthy. We the community thank you for taking the mantle and running with it. You guys have done a great job in a really challenging situation.
You're too kind.
Yeah,
it certainly.
Make sure that makes it to the live cut, because I want to make sure people hear that. That's really important, and that's from the heart.
Certainly, when I was asked to volunteer or to consider program chair, I never imagined the amount of work that I would do, and they didn't either, right?
Yeah,
nobody did.
That's right. That's right.
So it's been a trip.
It's been.
It's been a trip.
Thank your families.
And
thank your families.
And this has been an episode. Once again, Dan Garcia
wonderful.
from the University of California at Berkeley. Thank you so much for joining us today on SIGCSE Morning Coffee.
Great to see you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much for watching SIGCSE Morning Coffee.
And be sure to tune in tomorrow.
Make sure to like, subscribe, slam that like button. Am I doing this right? I'm trying to be a YouTuber. Am I doing this right, Larry? Do you know? Slam that like, hit that bell.
I don't know. I'd have to ask my son.
See you tomorrow, everyone. Bye.
Bye.